All right. Bravo, bravo. Here he is, his longtime friend and spokesperson who had to make the grim announcement yesterday, but really can give us some reflections on a personal relationship and a professional relationship with the great Bob Barker. He's Roger Neal, everybody. Hey, Roger Neal.
Hey, Mark, how are you?
I'm well, sir. You always look great. I was just talking about how terrific your friend Bob Barker was as a talent, but also what a tremendous guy he was when it came to his activism around animals too.
Yeah, we talked about this over the weekend. He left a legacy, a double legacy for animals and all the things he did for animals, public and private. Some things he did for animals people don't even know about. And then there was the TV host legacy that he left that people will forever remember, and generations of people. Anybody who wanted to be a TV host, starting in the '60s and '70s, they looked up to Bob Barker. He was the one that they wanted to be like. So he left I think he leaves a double legacy.
Yeah, it's interesting. His skills as a host were not limited to the game show. I'd mentioned the pageants. He was, he just was one of those super versatile and incredible. I'm going to say this, pardon the comparison, but I feel, and this may be personal taste too, he was like Ryan Seacrest, but I would suggest to a even greater ability. I mean, like Seacrest can get you there and he's fine, but I think that Bob Barker was fun. There was a fun element to Barker that he interacted with real people in all of these fun ways. I thought as a host, he really was like without peer.
I agree with you, Mark. Barker was one. I always say Barker was one of a kind. He can't be duplicated and he can't be replicated, and no one's going to be able to. I don't think anybody will be able to fill his shoes. They may try, but I don't think they're going to fill his shoes at all.
And I guess what I was mentioning with Ryan was just the ubiquity. Ryan's on everything, and there was a time when Bob Barker was the go-to guy for that. Also, I guess that's what I meant in mentioning Ryan. But I just felt that Barker will give you a little bit of the unexpected. He didn't mind working a little edgy. You know what I mean? It was really, it was, yeah.
Yeah, Barker. He had this love affair with the audience, and they had a love affair with him. And with Barker, he was sort of the king of ad libs. King of ad libs, right? He could ad lib just in a split second. Whenever you see contestants run up on the stage to hug him, kiss him, he had no idea what was coming his way. Ever. Never did he have an idea what was coming his way. And there were some great moments in television that you won't see anywhere else except for The Price is Right. And even going back to Truth or Consequences. I mean, even when you mentioned the pageants, I first started working with Bob Barker in 1987. I was handling the Miss USA and Miss Universe pageants for CBS. And my first introduction to him was on the floor of the Cow Palace in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I got him through and the pageant through the fur controversy. And at the end of that show, he turned to me and said, "You're hired. I haven't had this much media attention in years." And that's where our working relationship started.
That's great. And he was really he was involved in animal activism before it was cool. I mean, here's a guy who came up in a very look at that, even the publicity pic of him we're showing now. This very straight world. And when I say straight, I mean it was everything was very buttoned down in America, very conservative. I mean the explosion of the late '60s and early '70s that blew it all up. But until then, it was really post World War II kind of a post Korea kind of buttoned down world. And Barker, he had that look, but he could also be playful. And as I say, he took on these causes that weren't cool at the time.
Yeah, I got baptized by fire with him with the animal rights, with Miss USA pageant 1987. But by the way, we got so much press. It ended up being the number one show for the night, the week, the month, and number 3 network special for the year. Miss USA still has never topped those ratings, and it's thanks to Bob Barker and all of his work with animal rights that we had to do that balance, that juggling act on that show, which for a 25-year-old guy who just got a shot to handle a major network special and working with the host who is the iconic Bob Barker. It was just a crazy my head was spinning. I never
How
forget
did you? Let's just go back to that. So essentially, Barker, I was telling everyone this, I think, before you came on. Barker essentially said, "Hey, you're giving away a fur as a prize. I'm not going to do it. I won't host it."
Yeah,
Um,
so
yeah.
I was on the floor of the Cow Palace, and they were in rehearsals, and the girls were in the swimsuit rehearsals. And back then, the Flemington Fur paid the pageant $2 million a year to be a sponsor. And I was there. I was introduced to him. They were work doing the rehearsing top 10 in their furs. And I got called into the president's office about an hour later, and the president said, "Hey, I think you've met Bob Barker." I said, "Yes, I have." And I thought to myself, "Oh my gosh, I'm in trouble somehow, you know." And he said, "Listen," he said, "Barker is a animal rights activist. He cannot be seen on stage with the furs. Go to your hotel, take a few hours, and figure out what you're going to do and how you're going to make everybody look good." And I went to my hotel going, "Well, this was my first and last show with Miss USA. How great is that?" But my mind started thinking, and I made a phone call to Bob Wood, who happened to be on the floor of the doing a story for the CBS affiliate. And, we had a conversation, and the rest is history. And I was able to navigate both Barker and the pageant through that. It brought more attention to animal rights than there had been in years, and it brought attention to the Miss USA pageant. And so that's why he said at the end of the show, you're hired. And then on that particular broadcast, they did wear synthetic furs on stage so Barker could do the show. And then after that, of course, after that show, they couldn't continue to do synthetic furs, and he decided, of course, to leave the show because of that.
Yeah, that's really something. In the end, he did push away from it. His last line on retirement,
Yeah.
he announced in '06, "I will be 83 years old on December 12th, and I've decided to retire while I'm still young."
But that's how he thought. I mean, Barker was young at heart. I mean, I just realized today, Mark, when I started working with him in 1987, he was the same age I am now.
Oh, that's so funny.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Crazy.
give us a sense of on the personal side. That's a little bit of the kind of navigating his public profile. What was he about personally?
The man you saw on TV is the man that you would encounter in personal life. Went to the house many times for meetings, and we met when I had a meeting with Barker. I looked like this, and he was in a swimsuit. We were sitting by the pool. He'd be relaxed, tanning. I'd be sweating. I mean, that was just.
He was married to his high school sweetheart originally, isn't that what it was? I say originally because I think she passed away. Yeah.
She did 1981. She died of cancer in 1981, and every year he would go to her grave, and she loved Christmas, and Snoopy was her favorite, so he would take a Snoopy Christmas tree and put on her grave every year at Christmas time, and he did it until he just got to the point where he couldn't really go out and do things anymore.
Roger, in our last minute, I wonder if you can just give me an idea of what he must have had. He's made so much money through the years, and he devoted that money and channeled that money to all of these causes. I mean, PETA, Sea Shepherd, I think Mercy for Animals. I mean, these are just the ones that come to mind. Last Chance for Animals, I think, as well. But to all and I'm sure to a lot of adoption and spay and neuter projects. Is there any kind of legacy of his estate, if you will, that's being channeled to some of those same causes?
Yeah, the bulk of his estate will go to military organizations. It'll go to animal rights organizations like Sea Shepherd, like United Activists for Animals, Donkeyland. There's about 40 military and animal rights organizations that will get the bulk of his estate, and those were his wishes.
People ask me, this is a quote from the great Bob Barker. People ask me, what do you miss most about Price is Right? And I say, the money.
He followed that up with saying, and of course, and I miss the people too.
Exactly. He said, that's not really true. He said,
No.
I miss the people too. Yeah.
With Barker, it was like with I handled Tim Conway for the last 5 years of his life. And the love that they feel from the fans, that's their oxygen. That's how they breathe. And Barker stayed young, I think, for so many years because the love that came back to him from the fans and the love he gave to them kept him going for so many years.
And you know, Roger, I'll say this last thing because I do want to mention it, and we're going to talk more about his activism in the second hour because we have an animal segment that we do regularly on Monday. It just happens to coincide. But I did want to mention his appearance in Happy Gilmore with Sandler was brilliant and vaulted him to another level. Just at that time, when I say, but you know what I'm saying, it established this other color to his personality and his abilities. And then they reprised it, didn't they, Roger? They did it on an award show, as I recall.
They did, and they did a couple things. So they did one with Barker in a hospital bed.
That was the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, that was hysterical, man. But he really liked Adam Sandler. He actually loved Adam Sandler. Adam was a really, they became, look at that generation gap, right? The age difference. But Barker was able to just click right in. As an actor, interestingly enough, that Barker appeared on an episode of Bonanza?
I did not know that. That's wild.
Appeared on Bonanza, but and he played himself on The Bold and Beautiful several times as well. But this movie right here introduced Bob Barker to a whole new generation of fans that became fans of his after Happy Gilmore came out. But he and Adam definitely had a great relationship. And Barker
and the sketch they did, Roger, on the award show, Google it. It's on YouTube, so this very same platform. Because I can't show either one of these clips, obviously, for copyright reasons. So, but it's worth checking out. Barker, so talented, and his heart was purely in the right place. A real loss. I'm really sorry for the loss of your friend, but wow, 99 years, man. He did so much great work.
3 months from now, he would have turned 100. We were gearing up for the 100th birthday celebration. I had a lot of magazine covers that were going to be done. There's an exhibit at the Hollywood Museum right now that is there, and we were adding more things to it in anticipation of the 100th birthday. We thought he was going to be here to at least 100. People like Bob Barker, you think are always going to be here forever. They're never going away. It's like when I handled Bob Hope the last 15 years of his life. He turned 100, and we thought, okay, he'll be around for a few more years. He lived 3 months. He and George Burns had a bet they would each make it to 100, and they both did. So I just felt the same about Barker. He'll just be here. He's always been here my whole life. He'll just continue to be here. But he will be with us, by the way, because you can see the Barker era Price is Right episodes on Game Show Network. And if you go to social media, the Barker era clips are all over social media, even before he passed away. So people are still able to watch Barker.
He's got a great legacy of work. So glad to hear that. Roger, you're so sweet to join us. Really cool. I've known you for years also, and you're always you're such a pro. And it doesn't surprise me that you handled this great man.
I just want to know why you were never the announcer on The Price is Right. I think Mark Thompson has the greatest voices ever for TV or radio, and I'm just telling you, one of the greatest voices of all time. You hear that. You're like Barker. When you hear the voice, you don't have to see you. You know exactly who you are. It's Mark Thompson. I mean, what a great voice.
I could kiss you right now. Thank you. And I also want to know why I wasn't the voice of The Price is Right. All right, that's two of us. All right, Roger Neal, everybody. Thanks, Roger. Wow, really cool.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.